This video is going to be about costs of owning and maintaining firearms, among other things. For the first thing here, I'll just introduce it as the title. Brass reloading with primer, propellant, and projectile. And the projectiles could be recast range scrap. Since you can use range brass, you can do a lot of reloading. Barrel blanks and barrel liners can be used to repair broken barrels on guns, so you don't have to go out and get another gun. And you can also just buy barrels that are specific to the gun, but I'm going to bring up alternatives to that because that's the first thing a person thinks of. Chamber reamers, which are for rechambering a barrel that has an integral chamber for the cartridge to go into, cost anywhere from $50 to $100, and rifling buttons cost $45 to rifle or re-rifle a barrel. And barrel liners go for $35 for a 26-inch length of metal tubing that's already perfect for doing the job and might even fit properly in the barrel that you have after you drill it out, or in a metal pipe so you can bolt a new barrel. And that may be all there is to it. Let's talk about reloading first. Primers, propellant, and projectiles. To reload a cartridge with a store-bought primer, store-bought propellant, and store-bought projectiles, not recasting. 40 cents on average per cartridge. This is based on things like recasting for cheap, so you can get it even cheaper than that, a lot cheaper, by the way. And or buying bullets, like I said, 25 cents a pop or so for a 223 5.56. Primers cost about 5 cents or less each. The propellant goes for $20 a pound, $25 a pound is what I found just by a quick lookup. This is in no way, shape, or form representative of what you will find or how good of a deal you can get. I'm just getting ballparks here. It costs 10 cents in propellant for a 223 or 12 gauge approximately. And you get 250 reloads per pound approximately. 500 reloads per pound, let's say, for 410 or 45 long Colt at 5 cents a pop. And at less than that, or half of that, 2 or 3% each, for 9mm, and you get 1,000 reloads on it. 22 caliber long rifle, don't reload that. The rifles go for about $120. Currently, just have to look, they'll be gone tomorrow, but you can just wait and find another one. The cartridges go for about 10 cents a pop. So there's no point in reloading them. Unless you're going to make some weird round that's really, really cheap somehow, you can just buy the cartridges. 223 5.56 rifles go for $350 to $400 in the range I was looking up. That's of practical value available and is not necessarily AR-15s. You can get other guns that can fire the cartridges. And the cartridges go for about 75 cents a pop for maintaining 223. So in all of these, right now, the two most popular ones, 22 caliber centerfire and 22 caliber rimfire, you're in for a certain amount of money initial cost. But the feeding of them is, 7 to 1. And you can get it cheaper than that, at least for the long rifle. You can get it down to, 40 cents a cartridge. It's not as cheap as 22 long rifle, but it's pretty good. 9mm you can reload almost as cheap as 22. Costs. And barrel liners. I'm going to bring this up if you want to maintain or build or start over. $35 for a 22 caliber long rifle, 26-inch long, 6 grooves, and it goes inside of a hole you drill that is .384 or .70 or .315 depending on the company that made it. Now let's bring up the next pile of BS here. 410 shotguns, $140 currently. Cartridges cost for that about like 50, 75 cents, maybe $1, depending on what you're using. 45 Colt, which you can get barrel liners or replacement barrels for almost all of them. You can even make a 45 caliber rifle. The liner for that can be put inside of a steel pipe that would never be able to fit 45 because 45 is very precise, just like every other bullet. Rifling a metal tube versus just putting a liner in for $7 an inch. Look how much it costs to buy a 410 or a 45. 45 rifles aren't even available for less than $500 or $800 some places. But it's 80 cents to fire the cartridge, and again, reloading is still valuable. At this point, you'd be paying half the cost. This is with half the cost cutoff point here to do it. And again, you can get the range scrap melted down and make new bullets, get a mold, and you can reload the brass by getting range brass. 45 Colt gun itself, it's a pistol, goes for $480. The liner is $7 per inch. You can do the math and figure out whether or not you want to make an extra barrel for one. And many of these, if you just make a different chambering, or make a barrel with a chamber on each end so you can flip it around, you can fire completely different cartridges, but it's still coming out the same barrel. The barrel bore, the rifling, the ballistics match, or not. Single shot 12 gauge shotguns were available for $100 last year. Well, kinda. Now they're $155. Okay, that's changed with the current year. $1 a pop buckshot for the stuff that you would use in one for quote-unquote home defense. Then we get to 9mm, the good, bad, and ugly. The good is the $300 pistol. It's an auto reloader. It doesn't matter what the brand name is. It's totally forgettable. The bad, $100 Altor pistol. Single shot, and it comes apart in two pieces so you can lose half your gun. Pick which half you want to lose. It's basically a zip gun. But it's very clever the way the trigger's done, so it's not that bad. The ugly, $150 high point. It's $150. If you need an auto loader that's of a practical value, especially because you can use it as a blunt instrument because the high point's so big and heavy, yeah, you can do that. Tubing versus pipe. Do you want to make a replacement barrel or a new barrel that you can drill each end with two different chamberings? Okay. Chamber reamers go for $50 to $100 to do that. So if you start off with a barrel that's close to one of them, it has to have the same rifling both directions. You can get that kind of a kit and make double duty of a gun. Now, I'm not talking about altering an AR-15 to where you can fire 22 caliber rimfire. Quite the other way around. You can get single-shot rifles, and you can build another barrel for it, or flip the barrel around and use the muzzle end and put in, let's say, 223-556 chambering. Would that be good or a good idea? Would it be safe? I don't know. Again, you can just buy the guns pretty cheaply. Rifling buttons are $45. You're at the point, if you do that kind of project, to do it correctly, to rifle a barrel if you have to start with a blank, or a piece of metal tubing. You have to find a specialized drill bit to drill it to where it's close to 223, 556, or whatever. You have to then use a rifling button or figure out how to rifle it. Electro rifling is cheap. It's almost no dollars at all. But if you want a button rifle, it's $45. If you want to electrochemically rifle it with salt water and electricity, it's literally nothing. You can look up how to do it. But are we trying to make the bullets hit the same spot every time? And the barrel liner, again, is cheap. It's $35 for 26 inches. You're good for that. But the chamber reams are still $50 to $100. And unless it's something simple like a 22 caliber rimfire, you're going to have to use a chamber ream to get it right. Or step drill it to where the thing fits, find out the dead space, and fill it full of a layer of tinning flux, and then line it with solder with a shell in it, and then get the shell out. That's actually a method for doing it. And you can do that with various pipe diameters. Now, where am I going with this? Now, I've got a bunch of information on my screen on all the different metal pipes that are thought up by people making scrap metal guns. They all have two peculiarities, with the exception of a very few cartridges. There's only a few of them. None of them will give you the performance of just buying a broken gun and rebuilding it, or buying a gun with a bad bore and reboring it, or just boring it out to a new diameter and putting a liner in. You're going to be doing as much or more work, and the starting point is a lot less much work because you basically have a gun in the beginning. And I could do a video on that, and I probably will. I gathered all this information because I was doing it originally for the 50 BMG, because, yeah, that's a thing. And I was going to do a video on chambering one end with the 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum and the other end with 50 BMG because of the costs. There's going to be a rant in here about people creating a problem. I was also going to bring up something cool I found. It's a 50 BMG short. It's actually a spotter rifle that was used on a piece of artillery. It used something that was so close to it. It's the 50 BAT instead of BMG. And that is a cartridge that it's a short version of 50 BMG almost. And you could make a Nerf gun out of that. But anyway, what I was going to do was come up with a procedure for that, and that actually grew into this whole thing because of people arguing on the internet. Let's get to the one that everybody knows I'm going to do. You can use tubing that's exactly the right diameter for a shotgun shell, 12 gauge. You can get a piece of water pipe or ordinary plumbing pipe that happens to have the inner diameter that's almost exactly the right one for a real shotgun. Instead of being 7.83 caliber equivalent, which is what a 12 gauge really is inside, with a big fat cartridge that can't go into that diameter. That's 81 caliber, if you want to call that a caliber. You can buy that metal pipe and then use a 13/16 drill or whatever to drill it out so you can fit the cartridge in it. And you've got basically the same thing as a shotgun. You can get the pipe diameter, or tubing diameter, excuse me, that's exactly the right size for the chamber, and just use that as a shotgun because that'll work okay. That's one of a few where you get so close to perfect that it's not even funny. 9mm is another example. Like I said, you can get a $150 high point, but a 9mm rifle is kind of hard to find. You can start off by doing a 3/8 inch pipe. It has an inner diameter for Schedule 160 that's the bullet's not going to have anything to rifle to. There's no point. And buying rifling, they're assuming you're doing pistols, so it's $7 an inch instead of $35 for 3 feet or whatever. So, but how do we get around that? Well, you look for something else that has the same bore diameter the bullet does, and look for a liner for that other product. There's a bunch of them. I'm going to bring you a really quick, short one. 22 caliber will fit into a Schedule 40 1/8 inch pipe and come out of the barrel, and it'll come out side-ass ways and won't hit anything accurately. But over a short distance, yes, it'll fire a cartridge. If all you want to do is make noise and put a hole in a piece of paper somewhere on it, 3/8 Schedule 40 can be a 44 Special, 44 Magnum, 45 Auto rimmed, and 45 Colt, and consequently also 410 shotgun shellish, kind of, sort of. 1/4 inch Schedule 40 pipe can be 357 Magnum, 38 caliber. You just have to drill it with a 25/64 or 24/64 bit to fit the casing. 9mm has a similar story, but they won't have rifling. And finally, the only one in the whole bunch, because rifling doesn't matter to a shotgun, 410 shotgun, like I mentioned, you can make a barrel for. 12 gauge, you can do it the way I mentioned, where you use Schedule 80 and drill it for the chamber. It'll work better that way. Or just use a Schedule 40, but then the cartridge wiggles around and it's not as safe. Or you can use a 1-inch Schedule 160 pipe, and it happens to have an inner diameter on it that's almost exactly the right size for a shotgun chamber. And then finally, you can just get the pipe diameter that's dead on perfect. All of these are useful things, but let's go back to the original idea. 40 cents per cartridge reloading versus spending at least double that for the cartridges. The only exception is 22 caliber long rifle. The projectiles can be made by molding them. And by the way, if you're curious, you can make copper jacketed bullets by lining the inside of the mold with a sleeve you make out of copper foil that's sticky taped. It's a sticky tape that's made out of copper. Put it on the inside of it, get it ready to go, and then pour the lead into it. Make sure the inside edge of it is tinned. You can tin the upper surface and still have it sticky sided, and or paint it with a layer of what is called tinning flux. And you pour the lead in, it will solder itself to it, and you will have a perfectly good copper jacketed bullet. You don't have to have it mess up your barrel. Now, why am I doing this? A lot of people are complaining about the shortages and making up conspiracy theories instead of just solving the problem. A lot of people made this bed for themselves by getting into the habit of firing more rounds than you would if you were in the military or the police. You don't need to do that. They complain about how expensive it is or whatever. It seems like a bunch of first world problems, privileged people who have lots of guns, lots of ammo, and bitch loudest and seem to cause the prices to go up. Meanwhile, here I am just not even needing a gun because pipes everywhere and I just need the shells. And you just reload them cheap. Again, 40 cents a pop. Just saying. So anyway, I hope this has been useful for all of you who are thinking of doing any of this. A lot of information is going to be packed below and at a connected link set. And I might use a pinned comment to contain it all. This is a lot of stuff I looked up to come to the same conclusion I always have. That it's not worth it unless you do a few tricks. Thanks for watching. Good day. Good luck.